Hi, I'm Paul.
And this is Justin.
And you're listening to Diesel Performance Podcast. Justin, I've been out of the office for a week, out of the office. We've been out of the office for 4 weeks. I've been off of work for a week. I feel a little rusty here today, man.
Dude, I feel ya. Yeah, it's been weird not seeing everyone in the office, and it's been weird not. Paul just had a second kid, so it's been wild not having him around.
Hey, mom and baby are doing great. I am doing great. I am glad to be getting back to doing some Diesel Performance Podcast stuff, though. I'll tell you that, man. This is a welcomed bit of work that we're doing here tonight. We know we are getting this episode out late this evening. We apologize for that. We have a ton of interviews. We have a ton of listener ride review interviews already done. We're continuing to do those. We got a really cool one on today. But before we dive into it, I wanted to just reiterate the 6-liter number one fan. So we are running a contest on our Facebook page. We are looking for the world's biggest 6-liter performance fan. So if you got a Power Stroke 03 to 07 and you fucking love it, we want to give you a turbo. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. We know it's not you, so.
No, I don't think I qualify for this one. There's a few stipulations on the contest. You got to own a 6-liter, right? It's got to run and drive or be very near. If you're mid-build, we might talk to you about it. It's got to be something that you use regularly. We don't want to give away a brand new 6-liter Stealth 67 G2 turbo to some trailer queen or somebody who drives their truck once a year. I want to give it to somebody who really uses it, an everyday diesel guy. I think that's really important part of this contest. So you jump on our Facebook page or you jump on our Facebook group, Fans of Diesel Performance Podcast. And that's it, man. You click on the link, you fill out the form, and you write us. Give us 4 sentences, give us 20 sentences, give us something telling us why you deserve this turbo, telling us why you deserve to win. Tell us why you're the biggest 6-liter diesel performance fan out there, and you could score yourself a brand new turbo for your truck. I think it's a really cool contest.
That's awesome, yeah. So essentially, it's you just proving Paul wrong. Is that what it sounds like? Why
Yeah. I will not be weighing in on the winner. We will be pulling a winner on May 1st of 2020. This episode that we're recording here live is going live today on April 24th of 2020. So if you're hearing it, jump on. You still got time. Get an entry form in. Win yourself a turbo, man. This is a really exciting time. And speaking of turbos, that's the other huge thing going on at Duramax Tuner right now. We have a massive sale on all Stealth turbos. So if you're listening to this, you're like, hey, I'm a Duramax guy, I'm a Cummins guy who gives a shit about a Power Stroke. I feel ya. That's cool too. We got 15% off on all of the Stealth turbos. That's for some of these guys, you're saving hundreds of dollars by doing something that's also going to help stimulate a small business, keep people employed, keep your truck happy, keep yourself happy, and score yourself a brand new turbo. So yeah, all Stealth turbos 15% off. If you got a 3rd-gen Cummins and you're thinking about that 67 turbo, we actually got that one up for 25% off. So jump on and get it now. This sale will end when we run out of supplies. And I'll tell you right now, guys, as of today, we are getting short on supplies. So get your ass over to DuramaxTuner.com, get a turbo ordered. Don't put it off any longer. We most likely are going to run out of inventory and have to shut the sale down very shortly. So yeah, want to make sure our listeners get in there and get those savings while they can. Another place that I think guys should get in and get it while they can is taking a look at a 14 millimeter CP3. That's a massive CP3, Justin.
Yeah, holy crap.
So Exergy, you remember back in the day, we used to tell guys, hey, if you got a 10 mil, that's probably the edge of streetability. If you got a 12 mil pump, it's probably not something that you want to be driving around on the road with because it's just such a big slide on the regulator. They were tough, man. They were tough to make streetable. Now 12 mils, dual 12 mils are no big deal. We have street trucks running 12 mils all day long. In fact, Exergy has released a street 14 millimeter pump and a competition 14 millimeter pump. They're fucking awesome. They're capable of massive amounts of power. And they bolt in just like a factory CP3 would. So it's really kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's wild. I mean, it makes sense. You and I got a chance to go up there, and I mean, that place is professional to a T. They comb over everything. They do everything. I've never seen anything like it before. It was amazing.
Absolutely correct, man. Yeah, when we talk about being the best at something, we hold that to a very high standard. You know, we're not just full of a bunch of fluff where we're like, our boss told us to like these guys. No, Justin and I know the guys over at Exergy personally and professionally. We've seen their operation. We've seen the time and care. We've seen the technology, some really cutting edge technology involved in the parts that they develop. And what something I didn't know is that at their core, Exergy Performance is an engineering team. That's really what they are. Is they're a bunch of actual engineers. I think that's what we miss in this industry. So often we're DIY guys, or we're diesel guys, or we're truck guys, and we have to learn engineering to make our shit work. They kind of did it the opposite way. They all are engineers who figured out how to make diesel performance work better. And I just love that. To me, that just says everything about the products.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of products, guys, you know, our other sponsor here on the show is WC Fab, and they come together every single time we need them to. We use their traction bars, we use their powder coating, we use their turbo kits, we use their coolant tanks, we use their intercooler pipes. They fab parts for us. We work with them again because they are at the top of their game. When we think about a group of guys in fabrication who are going to do the best possible job out there, we know there's only one answer, and that's WC Fab every single time.
For sure. They are top of the game as well, man. We've been there, like we said, and it's just the Worley brothers, the Worley clan gang. I don't even know how many there are. I don't have enough fingers. Well, I have enough fingers, but you know, they're just in there doing great stuff.
Absolutely. You know, last year, Justin, Chris, and I got a chance to go down to their facility, walk around and interview them. And I think in one day we interviewed 4 Worley brothers and talked about 4 totally separate facets of the industry. Everything from running a CNC machine and a lathe, over to doing real fabrication, over to doing powder coating, over to just working on trucks and wrenching in a shop. It was a really overwhelming and amazing experience. Listeners, if you have a chance, go back and listen to that episode. I think it'll really kind of kick you in the ass if you're thinking about one of their parts. Just to hear from them firsthand about what they bring to the table. And hey, speaking of firsthand experience, Justin, that's one of the reasons that I love our new segment, our listener ride reviews. Can you tell our maybe new listeners a little bit about what this segment is and why we give a shit about it?
As we all know, that like diesel, DIY diesel, all these guys are just essentially grassroots people. They start from learning on their own or with family, or, you know, from friends. And essentially that's what I get from the listener ride review as I edit these podcasts. This is just like truck guys talking about their truck. And all of us like hearing it. We love the stories about these trucks. I know you and I agree. I mean, when you brought this to the table, I thought it was a great idea, and I still do. I love the stories, and it just goes to show you the cohesiveness of this community.
And you know what I love, Justin, is that this community has nothing to do with how far apart we are from each other, and it never has. It's real easy, especially with today, with COVID-19 and stay-at-home orders, to really be thinking about how alone you are in something. But what Diesel Performance has taught me is that this industry, this community, has always had distance between it, and that's never been a problem. Guys learn on the internet since the dawn of the internet and Diesel Performance. Guys learn on YouTube. Guys learn on Facebook. Guys learn on forums, and been doing it forever. And that's something that every single listener ride review episode will reveal. And I think nobody could make that point more clear than who we have today. I got Jack Anderson from the top of the world, literally. Let's kick it over to me talking to Jack, and we'll learn a little bit more about why I was so pumped about doing this interview. All right, guys, it's now time for my favorite part of the show. This is where we have you, the listener, on the show to be a part of what we're making here, to be a part of Diesel Performance Podcast. And today we have a really special guest from way the fuck up north. I think we are officially interviewing somebody who is the furthest away from us that we've ever had. Jack Anderson. Jack, how the hell are you?
I'm hella good, man. How about you, Paul?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I am staying warm, hugging a space heater, sitting in my garage in a nice, crisp 40-degree weather. How about you?
I am sitting up north, just taking a quick break from work. It's a balmy six above, sunny and six above.
Oh,
So pretty good weather for what we've had lately. This winter's been brutal up here.
really? Now, give our listeners some clues in how far north are you?
So North Slope of Alaska, Prudhoe Bay area is basically the end of the landmass that you can drive to on the North American continent. Um, Another mile from here is the ocean, and you could drive out on the ice for a couple miles, but that's about it. So top of the world, man.
And still talking about diesel performance. This is something I think we forget about in the Midwest. We tend to have this arrogance around here that we are the epicenter of diesel performance. Like if you're not in the Corn Belt, you probably don't know what you're up to. But we find all the time guys, not only all over the country, all over the world, that are really into these trucks. Now, you got a pretty huge list of modifications that we're going to be talking about today. And I think this is the perfect truck for us to dive into. Give us a rundown, man. What are you driving? What's the truck we're discussing today?
All right. So, hey, man, I called you out on the Facebook page, which was a lot of fun. So, 2003 Ford F-350 6-liter crew cab with the long bed. That's the only thing to have. Short beds are you can't put a piece of plywood in it, so why have it? So I've had the truck had the truck a while, and a lot of the upgrades have been from if a part fails, why put the exact same part back on it. So a lot of the things I've done have been in response to either a known soft spot, because these trucks are not new. People have had a lot of time hands on, so it's pretty easy to pick up the right parts. But then there's also a lot of time to research and decide which one's the best for you. So with the 6-liter, it's got head studs, of course. I've had a chance to do new up pipes. I'm in the middle of building it up now, so it's actually going to have 175/30 injectors. It's got a 63.5 turbo from Titan that I put together as a DIY on an '03 back end. So it's going to have the bigger vanes, and the bigger turbine wheel on it. Man, I just got done doing a lot of kind of cleanup work to it, repainting a bunch of stuff. I was supposed to have it powder coated, but that kind of fell through with the whole COVID thing. So that was a real bummer. But new Ficum with a tune on it. Running the SCT, I've got an X3, man, the 3015, the old school thing. I've had that for 6.5, 7 years now. I'm going to get some new tunes from Innovative on it, and we're going to run those. Stock fuel system right now with the 175s. I did add some return lines of my own making to run back to the fuel filter up top, but that's about it. Had the lift on it when I bought it. Had the 4-inch exhaust on it when I bought it, so I've left that alone. And it's been my daily driver for 7 years now. Been a good truck.
Jesus, 6-inch lift, 37-inch tires. I guess you're up in like actual rough country to where those might be necessary. I know usually around here we kind of poke at the guys who drive on 37s. I love them. I love the but they're usually wildly impractical. How about you? Is this a truck that like gets out into the field? Are you off of paved roads on a regular basis?
Oh yeah, I don't even live on a paved road, but that's just by choice. Uh, Alaska roads are unique. Driving, I've had my time on the highways down south, and you guys got expansion joints and miscellaneous problems. But Alaska roads are unique. They can fall apart, especially right now down where I live. It's springtime. We had a hell of a winter, a lot of rain leading up to a quick freeze, solid freeze, a ton of snow, and now it's all melting out, and the roads just fall apart. They literally, you can be driving along and then drop a wheel down and bury your axle in the silt holes. If you're off road, just traveling down what would be normally a graded, maintained state road is sometimes kind of a challenge. So it's fun to get out. Truck gets used like that. Tubs get locked in, pull it up into 4-wheel drive, and we go down, go explore, and go take a day and chill out. Go to the beach. We have beach. It's not the white sand beach, but it's still a beach. Drive down those for a couple miles and see what you find. So yeah, it gets used. It's a little rusty underneath. Salt in Alaska is kind of a pain in the butt, and then they started with the brine on the road that I think everybody can relate to. But yeah, it definitely gets used. And I like having a big heavy truck during the wintertime on the roads. truck with the most lug nuts generally wins if you get in a problem. So
I like that. That's a good rule of thumb.
yeah.
How long have you had this truck?
So I bought it in 2013, and it needed some help. The guy had bought it from an auction. He didn't know what to do with it. Was scared, got scared of the 6 liter hype, and I was really looking for a diesel at the time. I was looking for a crew cab, and I knew the Ford crew cabs were the biggest and kind of the cushiest at the time. So picked it up for pretty cheap and started working on it. I wasn't scared of it because I've always worked on all my own stuff. So turning a wrench is not new. Just had to learn which wrench to turn on these and the best way to turn it is all.
Sure. Okay. I mean, that's a good point. 6 liters. Everybody knows I've poked at them quite a bit because God knows they need a lot of help from the factory. But if you have a strong background in it, guys have proven that these can be strong performers. You mentioned you've been working on your stuff for a long time. How'd you get pulled into diesel performance?
Well, like I said, it wasn't intentional, which is kind of odd. Different than a lot of guys that kind of got sucked in because their friend had a diesel truck that they've maybe ridden around in. I'd had some influence to that. The diesel performance environment in Alaska started coming along, but really I was just looking for this crew cab, and then this thing popped up. The price was right. It was a coworker of mine up here on a project, and he wanted out of it, so the price was right. And I was like, well, I'll see what this diesel bit's all about. And then, funny thing, took my wife for a test drive. And this is a bone stock truck. It had no tuning, had no nothing done to it. And took my wife for a ride, heard that turbo whistle. She turned on the heated seats, and it was sold. And that's how it started.
Heard that turbo whistle and turned on the heated seats, man. That's a great start to a story.
Oh, yeah. You got to sell the wife on it, man.
I dig it. Okay, so you've had it since 13. You've done this huge list of mods. You clearly have a lot of experience. I love hearing things like built your own fuel system, return lines. That's a small project, but it's a big deal, especially in these trucks, right?
Right.
So
right.
What do you think made the biggest impact to your truck? What was like, man, I did this mod and it was a night and day difference?
So up before I started putting the new injectors in the bigger turbo on, I think the best thing that I did to make the truck run the best, what I noticed the most was putting that Atlas 40 tune on the Ficum. That really woke the truck up compared to what it was running before that. I know that sounds pretty simple, but I was really surprised at the overall. So you gained, everybody talks about it, but the pedal feel was better. The response off the line was better than what it was doing with just a can tune at that time. And then, I saw a mileage increase. I was driving the truck at that time, 450 miles one way around to work over in Valdez, Alaska. And so I had to rely on it. I had to get the best mileage I could out of it. And I was pretty surprised that it actually made that big of a difference.
What kind of mileage does this truck get?
Best hand calc that I've got, because I don't rely on the Lyle meter. Everybody knows that thing's way off. Is about 16 on the highway. 16, 17 on the highway is the best it's ever got.
Holy shit, 16 miles to the gallon on 37s? That's not bad. I'd be bragging about that. I'd have that in my back windshield.
Well, that's driving through, and Alaska's not flat, man. So it's a lot of mountain passes. There's at least 2 to go through when I was driving that 450. That's where I got it. 450 miles straight, one way, all highway driving. So, I mean, that's where it's at. That's not a mixed drive. You're filling up at least once to make that drive.
Jesus. That's a hell of a commute. Better you than me, that's for sure.
Yeah. It beat that truck up, man. That road was rough. I lost ball joints. I lost up pipes. I lost shocks. It was a pain in the butt.
Goodness. Is there a spot throughout this build, throughout all these repairs and all these upgrades, is there a spot where you're like, man, I spent the money here and I shouldn't have? Is there anything that you look back and you're like, that mod probably didn't need it?
As far as spending money on it, no. I try not to spend my money frivolously on things that aren't just going to work, but I did try something out. It was absolutely pointless. But at the time, you read about it and you're like, oh, well, it kind of makes sense. So I did the Zoodad mod. I think everybody knows.
What's that?
So the Zoodad mod, years ago, they said, hey, you could get a little bit better airflow coming into your air filter if you cut out this part of the fiberglass header panel. So I tried it.
Yes.
No, it probably did do a damn thing. Got sucked into that one.
That's common though. You know what I mean? Like as we go through these builds, there's always this kind of push and pull and give and take about like, should I try it? Should I spend my money on it? Should I put my effort into it? And is it going to pay off? You know, what are the
Right.
facts behind it? And so often I know like Facebook forums and the old internet forums, they were filled with these kind of, I love that name, the Zoodad mods of like, cut this piece out. You don't really need it, or drill a hole here. It'll help, and little things like that. And I think you're right. I think at the end of the day, a lot of the guys who have tested and proven these things maybe don't back them nearly as much anymore. Where do you go to learn about diesel performance? Where do you go to figure this stuff out?
So when I first got the truck back then, it was on the forums. It wasn't a lot of Facebook stuff back then. So, you know, it
Sure.
was Powerstroke Army, FordTrucks.com, you know, now it's Powerstroke Hub, ton of good information on there. And just Googling through a lot of stuff. Now I'm on a ton of 6.0 pages, and just I've got a pretty rounded group of people that are involved in different niche parts of it, so I have the opportunity to ask a lot of questions, and they generally have an answer for me. And then I get a lot of guys that message me and ask me questions, and it forces me to learn. So that's been the biggest part of it. A lot of the internet work, and it just takes a lot of searching.
I think you said two things there that really jump out off the page to me. Number one, Powerstroke Hub. Listeners, you know I've talked about this. That is my reference. Anytime we do an educational or research-based episode, I am on Diesel Hub, Powerstroke Hub, Duramax Hub, Cummins Hub. They're all the same group. They're phenomenal. Fact-checked, real data. I think that you'd be hard pressed to find a better resource for your Power Stroke than that place. And then number two is the community. Alaskan diesel performance has been rapidly growing. Like Mike Hanzuk and Mike Agnastu have tagged me to come up to Prowl for Power. I don't know how many times, guys. Fuck the cold weather. I don't care if it's summertime. It's warmer here. But for real, I really want to do it. But your area, just the general greater Alaska diesel environment has been exploding. What's that been like? Have you been a part of that?
Yeah, I've been trying to get more involved with it. That was some of the impetus between, you know, do I go stock injectors? I had a couple finally go out after 260,000 miles. As far as I know, they're stock injectors. Looking at reports and stuff, I couldn't tell that they've been replaced. So I'm like, well, do I want to just go a little overstock or go with more of a solid medium? I would just call it a mid-range build. I mean, we know what 175/30s in a stage one turbo are going to make. It's not super impressive. It's not going to win a dyno event, but I want it to be super solid, super reliable, and do some little things to it to see if maybe I can get to that top edge without really pushing the truck to that top edge. Just get a little bit more than what maybe somebody else is going to get. And there's a lot of guys in Alaska that are doing that. There's also a lot of sleepers. Like there's guys, it just doesn't get as promoted, I don't think, as much. And that's why I was really hoping that Prowl for Power is going to take off this year, to get to see some of these. Now, of course, my work schedule changed with this COVID stuff. I'll mention that again. And I don't know if I'll be able to make it or not. But it's still fun to see the pictures, see the videos, and see what goes on there, and see the new guys. You know, there's new guys that come to Alaska that don't know, and maybe they bring a truck with them, or maybe they pick up a truck here, and they realize that, hey, this truck used to have this or had this, or I can do this now. This is where people are going with this. I was talking to a guy just the other day up here. He was working on somebody's truck, and it turns out to be an old Alligator performance shop truck. I don't know how it made it to Alaska, but it's here. You know, it was a compound setup on a Cummins. It's an impressive truck. I haven't got to lay eyes on it, but those kind of things are around here. There's even some triples that I've heard of around here. Some guys doing some pretty impressive things with 6 liters. You know, making hand fabricating intake systems that are something that nobody else has done yet. I hope to see those trucks up and running. So yeah, it's here, and there's, you know, we've got guys here that are looking to move out of state. It's just because it's a population thing, right? We've only got so many people here, so the competition is only going to be so much. He wants to go get more competition, so he shipped his truck out. Calvin, he's in the running for DPC. We'll see if he makes it in there, and so it's definitely growing. It's been fun to watch the last couple of years.
Yeah, man, this is something You're getting tagged from guys in Alaska. For us down here in the 48, it's kind of a novelty. You're like, oh, cool. Somebody from Alaska messaged us or somebody from Alaska tagged us. And then more and more, we're seeing that there's a whole community of guys up there. There's a whole industry being built around a lot of small businesses growing during this time. So it's great, man. We definitely want to encourage people, go out and support your local businesses, support your local diesel shops. You know, these guys are still open. They're still wrenching on trucks. They're still doing things to move the industry forward. So yeah, man, that's really exciting. Now, who's helped you out with your build? Who would you like to give a shout out to?
I definitely got to give a shout out to John Titus, Titan Turbo. Man, he and I have messaged a ton. He's got a 6-liter. He's not scared. And, his stuff has been awesome. Great resource. It's been fun to kind of work with him and get ideas about what's going to work the best for the truck, from gearing to, fueling to how I drive the truck, what the truck's going to get used to. He was a good resource. And then Mike Hansick at Arm Rippin' Toys. I've been getting some parts from him. He actually, these guys ordered my S&B from them, and they found out that it was going to cost me an arm and a leg to actually ship it directly to my house. So they had it shipped to their shop, and then they made up some lame excuse to actually drive it down 2 hours down.
A day trip out of the shop. I get it.
Yeah. One of the guys got a new truck, and they wanted to play with it on the highway, so that was their excuse. Hey, we're gonna bring this down, and one of these guys is gonna test out a couple of things on this truck on the way down. So 2-hour drive, 140 miles. It's a good time.
That's dedication, man. That's dedication. I love that.
It is. Those guys are awesome. I've been working with those, and we talk a lot back and forth. They bounce questions off of things. So it's been a lot of good times. And then, of course, I probably should have said my wife first, but she's been super supportive, actually. She's been jabbing me in the ribs for the past couple of weeks to get this thing finished so she can go for a ride.
Don't worry. My wife doesn't listen to the show. I'm sure no one else's does either. So we're good. We'll just tell her that she was at the top of the list.
Oh, no, she'll listen. I guarantee it. She's probably already downloaded the podcast.
That's great. I love to hear that. All right. So what are the plans for the future? What are you going to do with this truck?
I got to get this engine thing wrapped up. And what's not on the list, I just picked up an O-Dog SR3 intake for it. So now I actually have to take the turbo back off. And a couple of other things to take, because I have the stock O3 intake, so it's got the hoop in the back. I got to take a bunch of crap off to get that thing out of the way, and then this O-Dog's going to slide right in there. So that's actually something that wasn't on my build list. So I just picked that up the other day. Looking forward to getting home and putting that on. I got to get this buttoned up, and then just trying to move on down to the transmission and just do some maintenance and some updates down there. Because I know I'm going to make a little more power. 5R110s are awesome, but you still need to take care of them. So I'm going to do that, and then I got to do some stuff to the outside. I got a new grill sitting in the garage waiting to go on. I've got a backup camera. There's lots of little things, right? There's always trying to make the truck just that little bit nicer. And some rust proofing, I think, is going to be in the future. I got my eye on a couple of products that are out there commercially that I'm going to try out to kind of make it look a little better, but also tame the rust.
I like that. It's the little things that kind of bring these builds together. I've seen guys slap parts on a truck, and it's cool to have like kind of a busted up outside looking, and then it runs like a raped ape. I get that, the whole sleeper thing. But man, when you got to drive it every day and you got to look at it every day and you got to run it through the car wash and like you got to take care of it, it's nice to have nice things. It's okay. Like you want it to look good.
Yeah, if you can't stand back and stare at it for a while, I don't think you're doing it right.
What final advice do you have for our listeners? What do you think that other 6-liter fans really need to know?
Man, I get asked a lot. I get a lot of messages about, hey, how do I go about doing this? There's diag sheets out there. I give them out freely. I've got the manuals. I've got these diag sheets, and I'm like, you got to just come with a documented approach to fixing these things. People unload the parts cannon on them, and that gets expensive in a hurry, and they get frustrated. I get it. And it's kind of tough to have a broken truck, and the first thing somebody tells you is, well, you need a diag sheet and a monitor, because you don't have those. You just want to be able to buy a part and fix this thing. I want to go down to the store, I want to buy the part, and I want to fix this thing. It's not like throwing a distributor cap on a 350 and making it run nice. It's unfortunately it's more involved, and it only gets worse. Not worse. It only just gets more in depth as you get into the newer trucks. You got to have computer systems to properly figure out what's going on with these things. And I think that's where people need to start. Is it doesn't cost a lot to get some of those things, but it does take some patience. And I think if you do that on the front end versus waiting until you're broke down, it's probably going to make your life a lot less frustrating. And, I mean, breakdowns suck, right? We don't want to have them, even with, it doesn't matter what brand you're driving.
Right.
Everything has its day, or whether it's death wobble or trans issues or a pressure failure in a sensor or something like that. I mean, it sucks that a little electrical wire can ruin your day, but that's just kind of the world we're in, unless you want to drive a 12 valve.
God, that's just good advice,
and
though. Yeah, 12 valves break too, by the way. Yes, right there with you.
Right, yeah, they do. They do. They're just more mechanical, and it's a little bit easier to see. It's like, oh, that's leaking.
No, I think that's such solid advice. I think it's something that we so commonly brush over is spending that extra time to properly diagnose the truck before you start wrenching on it. Like spending that time to properly understand and figure out what exactly the root cause is, not just look at the symptoms and, like you said, open up the parts cannon. I like that. I think that's a good way of approaching any fix, whether it's a Power Stroke, Cummins, Duramax, or, mom's old Caprice. Know what that problem is before you start throwing parts at it. That's just good, solid advice. Man, Jack, I've had such a blast talking with you today. I know there's a few more things that we're going to be discussing as well. I just wanted to give a quick plug. I know you've already entered for the contest. Guys, don't forget, we are having a number 1 6-liter performance fan contest right now. The winner, we are going to actually give away one of our brand new 6-liter Stealth 67 G2 turbos. The name's a little long. Bear with us. Turbos capable of juicer, custom billet, compressor wheel. Everything's upgraded. It's a phenomenal turbo. Now, I have some 6-blade compressor wheels that are going to be louder. And then for product launch, I'm going to be working with 11-blade wheels. Going to be a little bit quieter than those 6-blade wheels, but we'll absolutely get rid of any surge. So with the 6-blade wheels, we find, they're louder. They rip. They're a blast. Maybe elevation. Anytime we're towing at gross vehicle weight in elevation, that's where we're going to find how surge prone our turbo is, right? So what we found was that we can make that same power, get that same spool up, but go to an 11 wheel, get all of that surge out of it. So for the contest, we are doing the 6-blade. I got one of them ready. I already pulled it out of inventory. We are ready to give that away. I know you specifically had a few questions about, like, what are some of your options if we were comparing that to, say, the Titan turbo that you just picked up?
Well, yeah, you guys are killing me because I just bought this turbo setup for my truck, and I'd heard you guys talking about this stealth release for the 6.0 all last year. I talked to Big Mike about it a couple of different times. I've talked to some other people about it. I'm like, when is this thing going to release? I'm just waiting on it. I'm curious. And then I came into the market for a turbo, and I'm like, oh, man, I really wish – I want to know. I just wanted to know what the difference was going to be. I'd heard rumors, but I just wanted to know. And so I just bought this Titan turbo because I needed to get that part done. And then you guys released this thing. So I'm super curious because, I mean, we know that the platform is, I'm not going to say it's the same, but there's something, there's a starting point. And now you guys have started talking about, I heard Nick talk about it the other day, talk about the vanes are a little bit different geometry, or they got a little shape to them. They flow a little differently. Maybe the unison ring is keyed a little differently, or the the way that the vanes slide in that, or maybe that's shaped differently. I don't know. Now I'm super curious because my biggest curiosity is if we can talk about how it could be a similar platform with that, using a VGT scenario. Will that be able to fit into another turbo? I'm super curious about that. I'm not going to expect that right up front, but now I'm super curious. I want to run the turbo I've got and then compare it to the Stealth. So yeah, I entered to win. We'll see what happens. And I'm super curious now. You mentioned the 6-blade. I'm like, holy crap. I've got a 10-blade. I know what a 10-blade sounds like. Couldn't imagine what a 6-blade is going to be.
Yeah, it rips. The whistle is crazy on it. We actually have a product video with some really good sound clips in it coming out, probably Monday, I would hope, but definitely next week. So keep an eye out on the Duramax Tuner Facebook and YouTube channels.
Oh, yeah.
To hit a couple of things here. One, the bigger vanes are So vanes and unison ring pretty much determine all of your drivability and peak power. That's just how a turbo works. Yes, we need that compressor wheel to also match to the right size so that it all works together, right? We can't just throw a huge turbine and a huge custom vane pack and all of that into a turbo with a stock compressor wheel. Yeah, we'll have some gains, but it's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a totally revamped turbo that's capable of more power, but still has that stock drivability to it, right? So that's where we found that balance.
Yeah.
The unison ring and the vanes would not be able to be transferred into a stock turbo because we actually have to knock the stock dowel pins out of where the vanes attach. So if you've ever opened up the back of your turbo or pulled the whole assembly apart, you see the vanes have a little hole in the middle of them, and then they rest in that hole, and then the unison ring goes over all of the vanes and moves all of them in unison, hence the term unison ring.
Right.
So to run larger vanes, they're not only taller, but they're longer. So to run those bigger vane packs, we have to knock out all of those dowels and put all new dowels into the exhaust housing. And then we can put our vanes on it. And then because we're running larger vanes, you need a custom unison ring. So that unison ring has to go in there as well. And then the whole thing can kind of be put together and packaged in a stock appearing turbo. So you wouldn't be able to DIY one the way that you have with yours, although I think you did. I think you found a way to go after like that bang for buck. If I was going to tear a turbo apart myself and work on it, and I was into that, I could strongly see why you went the way you went, because I think you made a lot of good decisions there. You wouldn't have the same peak power in your turbo like the one that's on there now. Nothing against Titan. I think they're a great company. I think they make a great product, but it's just a smaller turbo, and it's not going to have the vanes and the unison ring. So they're just not going to compare on the same level. There's probably only one or two guys out there who are making a similar size stock appearing charger that would be in the same ballpark for peak power. And there's nobody else who's doing the custom vane pack and unison ring so that we get that drivability out of these bigger turbos. I think that's one of the reasons, the 6-liter market specifically is kind of saturated with like 63 or 64 millimeter turbo options. There's a lot of companies who offer that size charger, and they're all very similar. Nothing against them. Again, these are just facts about what's out there, right? But yeah, that's kind of why Nick was big on developing the 67 G2 in this market with what we had already learned from all of the other Garrett VVTs that we work on with like all the Duramax and things like that. So yeah, so this turbo I think would be a night and day difference from what you're driving right now. It'd be louder. It should still spool up about the same, if not quicker.
Good gravy.
And then yeah, like I said, more peak.
I've measured my sound, man. It's ridiculous. I think I measured my idle when it was sweeping the vanes when it went to high pitch at like 103 to 105 decibel at the tailpipe. So if a 6-blade's louder than that, that's just ridiculous. It's gonna be dangerous. But I'm still super curious, right? Definitely would love to get my hands on one. So yeah, hoping that contest entry form gets to the right people and gets pulled out of the hat, and I'd love to give it a try.
Awesome, man. Well, I love to hear it. Guys, if you want to get involved on the contest, if you think you're the number one 6-liter performance fan, jump on over to our Facebook page, Diesel Performance Podcast. I just posted it on the Facebook page. I'll try to share that in the Facebook group as well, fans of Diesel Performance Podcast. But either way, jump on over, click on the link, fill out the form, get entered. We are going to be picking a winner next week. So at the end of the month, May 1st, we will be pulling a winner and sending out that turbo. For today, this has been Paul Wilson. Jack, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, man, it's been a blast. I really appreciate you bringing me on, and it's been a good talk. Hopefully we do it again and talk about some more stuff.
Awesome. Listeners, we're doing 2 episodes a week now, so check back soon. We'll be bringing you more Diesel Performance Podcast. Hi, guys. Fuck me.